Yeah, yeah, yeah. One happy island. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome to Aruba, Aruba. Island in the sun, island in the sun. Beautiful people. Let's have some fun. Yeah, yeah. Only good vibes, 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 good vibes. Welcome to Aruba, only good vibes. San Nicolás, Canichela, Hueva, ni la ma. Ahuelvan, Baby Beach, Sabaneta. Ahora mi visa vomita casi llega. Su visero alto en Santa Cruz. Forti paradera, bobo a che luz. 30 ora in estate. Loro va in nord. Parabani che il vicinato a mi spot. Welcome to Aruba, Aruba. Island in the sun, island in the sun. Beautiful people. Let's have some fun. Yeah, yeah. Only good vibes, 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 good vibes. Welcome to Aruba, only good vibes. Welcome to Aruba. Island in the sun, island in the sun. Beautiful people. Let's have some fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One happy island. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome to Aruba, Aruba. Island in the sun, island in the sun. Beautiful people. Let's have some fun. Yeah, yeah. Only good vibes, 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 good vibes. Welcome to Aruba, only good vibes. San Nicolás, Canichela, Hueva, ni la ma. Ahuelvan, Baby Beach, Sabaneta. Ahora mi visa vomita casi llega. Su visero alto en Santa Cruz. Forti paradera, bobo a che luz. 30 ora in estate. Loro va in nord. Parabani che il vicinato a mi spot. Welcome to Aruba, Aruba. Island in the sun, island in the sun. Beautiful people. Let's have some fun. Yeah, yeah. Only good vibes, 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 good vibes. Welcome to Aruba, only good vibes. Welcome to Aruba. Island in the sun, island in the sun. Beautiful people. Let's have some fun.
Hello, everyone. Bombini, welcome. Good afternoon, and bon dia to all our viewers back in Aruba. Before we kick off with Aruba Meets Europe 2020, we will start with singing the anthem of Aruba, Aruba Dushitera. It's a song in Papiamento. It's written by Padu del Caribe, composed by Rufo Waver, and it's been our national anthem since March 18, 1976, the year I was born. So without further ado, let's stand up and enjoy the national anthem of Aruba. Welcome back, and now let's officially start Aruba Meets Europe 2020. This is a special edition for us because normally we will meet on Aruba in one of our nice resorts or on the beach or one of our nice secluded locations like the Arikok Park. I'm sure some of you remember the nice breakfast we have there. Nevertheless, we're very happy to be meeting you here online virtually through these channels and media. It's very special for us because we believe that we need to stay in touch with everybody, share information, share strategies, but also just showing commitment, support, and fostering that feeling of hope and confidence for next year. That's why we have chosen this year's topic to be happiness will prevail. Because we believe in that, and we're sure you believe that too, and we need to do it together. We have a very nice program in store for you. We will start with some nice messages from, amongst others, our CEO of the Aruba Tourism Authority, Mrs. Ronella Chingashu Cruz, our CMO of the Aruba Tourism Authority, Ms. Sanju Luidens, the CEO and President of the Aruba Hotel and Tourism Association, Ms. Tisa Lasort, and also the CEO of the Aruba Airports Authority, Mr. Joost Meijs. Following that, we will have a very special person to give a keynote. This person is an expert in destination marketing. So I'm very, very excited to see what he has to show trend-wise. What can we expect for next year? And I hope it'll be beneficial for you as well, planning into 2021. Following that, we'll have a panel discussion. And I'm very excited actually because we have been able to lock a couple of our main partners for this panel discussion, and they will be sharing their views on how 2020 will develop based on their own background. So I'm expecting a little bit of a positive fire in that panel discussion, so I hope you're going to stick around to look at that one too. So without further ado, let's go to Aruba and listen to the nice messages of our CEOs.
Good morning and welcome. Bombini to Aruba and to the virtual edition of Aruba Meets Europe, the signature biannual Aruba Tourism Conference for the European markets. This marks the first time that the conference is fully virtual as we reach out to the tourism industry across all European markets in which Aruba is fully operational. With the virtual edition of Aruba Meets Europe, we want to reconnect with you, our most valued partners, and give you the opportunity to reconnect with important stakeholders in Aruba. This conference will serve to both inform and inspire you. In Aruba, tourism represents 74% of the overall GDP. 84% of all jobs generated on the island are tourism-related or indirectly related to tourism. Furthermore, we are the second most tourism-dependent nation in the world. Despite the current crisis, which has had a strong impact on us, we remain optimistic as we look towards the future. In 2019, COVID-19 started to plummet us into unprecedented times, and the projection of the decline in tourism for 2020 has averaged globally between 58% and 78%, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. As Aruba cannot escape from the current reality, objectives and projections for arrivals in 2020 and 2021 have been developed based on a gradual recovery scenario. our goals for 2021 will be to recover stayover arrivals at a rate of between 45 and 60% in comparison to 2019, recover tourism credits between 45% and 60% in comparison to 2019, recover the average daily rate with 75% in comparison to 2019, and finally, win back cruise ship visitors at a rate of between 25% and 50% when compared to 2019. After thorough analysis, we identified 2 recovery goal scenarios as part of Aruba's gradual recovery process. 2 possible declines in year-end stayover arrivals have been identified, namely of 60% and 70% for the year. A third worst-case scenario with a decline in stayover arrivals of 80% is also still depicted. Year-to-date October, we received a total of 295,670 visitors, which is equivalent to a decline of 68% when compared to 2019. It is estimated that we will probably end up at a closer to conservative recovery by year-end 2020. The projections for the gradual recovery scenario for 2021 are based on the development of a cautiously optimistic scenario, an optimistic one, and a conservative scenario. This means that in the case of an optimistic scenario, we will be projecting a decrease of 40% in comparison to 2019. For the cautiously optimistic scenario, a decrease of 45%, and for the conservative one, a decrease of 55%. Again, all compared to 2019. We made slight adjustments to our key priority areas moving forward, as these continue to form an integral part of our strategic direction. We will sustainably recover visitor arrivals by balancing safety and economic growth. We will drive preference for visiting amongst high-value visitors. We will drive place product upgrades around authentic, personalized, and hassle-free experiences, as well as enhanced spending opportunities with an increased focus on health, sanitation, and hygiene. We will also continue to enhance awareness on the value of sustainable tourism with an increased focus on health, sanitation, and hygiene. We will continue to improve our organization's way of working for enhanced innovation and agility. And finally, we will prepare for tomorrow and contribute towards a sustainable development agenda, as well as building resilience, learning from the COVID-19 crisis. In Aruba, you will still encounter the same island and the same people, but with new rules and procedures to aid living in the new normal in order to satisfy both you and your clients. This way, everyone can enjoy a completely safe and tranquil vacation on the One Happy Island.
Although our borders were closed for 3 months since COVID-19 came into being, we here in Aruba were fully aligned with the private sector as well as with the government of Aruba to implement robust health and safety measures and to ramp up our testing efforts. Although it seemed like the world stood still for several months, we continued to work on improving our product and ensuring that Aruba is an even safer destination than it already was. During our shelter-in-place, we focused on educating our community through online tourism courses, new health and safety protocols, including the introduction of the Aruba Health and Happiness Code to ensure businesses could offer their services in a safe way. Additionally, projects to beautify the destination, as well as other remodeling improvements and health protocols in various hotels were carried out. Restaurants adapted to new regulations, implementing new systems and health and sanitation guidelines. And so, along with the phased reopening of our borders, the new normal took effect in Aruba, with regulations and procedures fully aligned with those recommended by the WHO and local organizations such as the Aruba Tourism Authority, the Aruba Airport Authority, AHATA, and others. So far, we have seen that with a successful and effective PCR testing strategy in place, in which tourists are tested at the airport upon arrival, along with all other protocols that have been implemented, visitors are able to enjoy a peaceful and relaxing vacation in Aruba. We are open and ready to welcome our European visitors to our one happy island. To conclude, I want to send you a message of hope and optimism. Here in Aruba, we truly hope and believe that 2021 will be much better. So we reaffirm our commitment to the European market and to all our valued business partners, because we want to continue working together to reactivate tourism, overcome the crisis, and show the world that we have managed to navigate these troubled waters while prioritizing the safety and well-being of our visitors.
The Aruba Hotel and Tourism Association created a best practices guide for hotels to elevate existing cleaning protocols to new standards for all areas, including baggage handling, elevator safety, cleaning guidelines, food and beverage services, casinos, and of course more. The two fundamental pillars of the best practices guide are physical distancing and disinfection, which are in accordance with the guidelines of the Aruba Department of Public Health, as well as the WHO. All hotels in Aruba are fully committed to embracing this new era of hospitality, which emphasizes these new high standards of hygiene and new ways to connect warmly with our guests despite use of masks and distancing. In addition, each hotel has its own specific protocols in which safety, hygiene, and health take center stage. Visitors can expect a variety of measures such as plexiglass barriers at desks, distancing, wide use of face masks, contactless check-in, repeated disinfection of rooms and public spaces, and many more efforts to keep our guests safe and happy.
At Queen Beatrix International Airport, we have put extensive health and safety measures in place in order to guarantee that our visitors enjoy a safe and relaxing vacation, as well as a safe and happy return. We are working continuously to ensure that our airport procedures meet the highest standards when it comes to health, safety and sanitation. These measures are imperative in ensuring we enable proper social distancing, as well as other protective and preventive measures throughout the entire process. This is all done in strict coordination with the local authorities. In October, we received approximately 740 passengers daily, with totals at over 5,000 passengers weekly from Europe, Canada and the United States. Currently, we have 6 airlines flying out of the United States: JetBlue, Delta, United, American Airlines, Spirit Airlines and Southwest Airlines. From Europe, we currently have flights coming in from one airline, KLM. TUI is expected to resume operations in December. From Canada, one airline, being Air Canada, is currently operational. In October, we handled a total of 304 departing commercial flights, and we expect to grow this number further in November and December of this year. On December the 1st, borders with Latin America and the Caribbean reopen, and we will then once again welcome flights of Avianca, Copa, Wingo and Sky High.
We want to make traveling to Aruba safe and unforgettable. Each of the established protocols will allow all of us to enjoy the happy island safely. We are waiting for you here in Aruba. Enjoy Aruba Meets Europe and make sure you participate in our interactive sessions featuring important members of the tourism industry in the region.
Thank you for those lovely messages, but above all, thank you for those lovely images. I'm so jealous. I wish I was there with you guys, walking just behind you, listening to your story, but enjoying the weather. Moving on forward, I just want to share with everybody here the importance of the European market for Aruba. We've been active in this market for more than 30 years. We've invested so much effort, energy, and love in the market, and we've also received a lot of love in return. And we want to keep on, expanding on that. So that's why this year's Aruba Meets Europe is very important and special to us because it's virtual, and we want to prepare ourselves for next year together. So happiness will prevail. I can't stress that enough. In Aruba, we haven't kept quiet. We have worked a lot on our health and safety protocols because it's very important for us that your guests are able to come to Aruba, feel safe, and feel confident that they can have a good vacation with all protocols in place. In order to explain that, I'm not going to do that. We have some local people and friends, helping us out with some nice videos explaining exactly the new way of traveling to Aruba and how people can still enjoy a healthy and safe vacation on Aruba. We're going to start off with Rosabel.
Proper planning and packing at home means a smoother, safer trip. Be sure to log on and check all the updated procedures of your airport and airline, as well as your accommodations and car rental agency in Aruba. It's important to know that all visitors will be required to complete the online embarkation and disembarkation card process. It will require visitors to provide health information 72 hours prior to travel, as well as the requisite health insurance coverage to determine if entry to Aruba is permitted. Visitors will have the option to show certification of a negative PCR test prior to travel. Visitors not choosing that option will take a PCR test upon arrival at the airport in Aruba. Please visit Aruba.com for the most updated information on the online ED card and the government procedures for visitors showing symptoms or testing positive for COVID-19 while in Aruba. The Aruban government requires all travelers wear a mask in flight to Aruba as well as in the airport in Aruba. Also, learn about the Aruba Health and Happiness Code at Aruba.com, a certification seal for local businesses that have taken rigorous safety measures for their guests. Be sure to pack hand sanitizer and don't forget to bring your mask. See you soon in sunny Aruba.
Thank you, Rosabel. Next up is Jennifer. She's going to talk a little bit about the whole process going to the airport. So actually, the first steps of your vacation to Aruba.
In addition to normal TSA procedures, there will be heightened safety protocols, so leave extra time and stress less. If possible, keep the windows open on the taxi ride and follow your state's mask protocols. It is important to have your approved online embarkation and disembarkation card. You will need to show it at check-in to be permitted to travel to Aruba. Practice social distancing and follow the airline staff and TSA personnel instructions. Have your travel documents handy and be security line ready. No beverages, remove electronics, you know the drill. As in-flight service will likely be limited, you may want to pick up some food and beverages prior to boarding. Follow your airline's regulations for in-flight social distancing and hygiene. And remember, masks are required in-flight and at the airport in Aruba. Next stop, One Happy Island.
Negative PCR test prior to travel. Children 14 and under will not be required to take a PCR test. At the airport, there will also be social distancing markers, sanitizer stations, shields and safeguards, on-site medical professionals, and more. It's important to know that masks will be required while in the airport. Please visit aruba.com for the most updated information on airport health screening and the government-mandated procedures for visitors showing symptoms or testing positive for COVID-19 while in Aruba. Follow airport personnel instructions, practice social distancing, and use hand sanitizer when retrieving your luggage. Bombini, welcome to Aruba.
Thanks, Andy. So now we have arrived in Aruba. We're outside, the hot winds blowing in our face with our masks on, so it's not that hot. How do we get to the hotels? Well, Shinton will let us know.
Most of Aruba's car rental agencies are right outside arrivals and very easy to find. Taxi lines will practice social distancing, and taxis will have elevated cleanliness procedures in compliance with the Aruba Health and Happiness Code. As you explore the island, you will likely see the Aruba Health and Happiness Code seal at your hotel, restaurants, retail shops, and more. This is your assurance that the service provider has met the government's requirements for safety and cleanliness. Aruba's small size means a quick ride, and in sunny Aruba, you can keep the windows open. Hop in, it's time to get you unpacked.
Thanks, Shinton. Very good information. Now that we're on our way to the hotels, we also want to share, what the hotels and the accommodations have done health and safety protocol-wise. To help us do that, we have Tisa Lasort.
Aruba's hotels and resorts have implemented cleaning protocols for luggage handling, elevator safety, housekeeping, room service, and more. These are based on the best practices from the Aruba Hotel and Tourism Association, as well as the World Health Organization guidelines. All of Aruba's hotels and resorts meeting the Aruba Health and Happiness Code will display their certification seal. Each hotel will also have their own protocols, such as digital check-in, online payment, and mobile keycards as part of their new norms. Aruba's accommodations are making your experience as enjoyable as ever. But please do adhere to social distancing for the safety of your family as well as the other guests. If you are staying at a villa, timeshare, or private home rental, be sure to check their updated procedures prior to arrival. Please have patience with our very necessary new visitor safety procedures. You may need to adjust to island time just a little bit. We invite you to relax and enjoy Aruba.
Thank you, Tisa. Well, now that we know how to safely travel from A to B, we can move on to the next part of Aruba Meets Europe. Thank you, everybody, for the nice messages, the nice images, and the important information for people who want to travel to Aruba. I also want to thank the whole ATA Europe team who have worked very hard to make this possible. Also our whole team at the head office, back home. Miss you guys, hope to see you guys soon again. And thank you everybody for tuning in. It's very important for us, and we're very happy that you joined us in this virtual Aruba Meets Europe special year. And remember, happiness will prevail. And now, last but not least, we move on to the keynote speech. I'm very excited about this one. I hope you will be too. Thank you. Hello, welcome back, everybody. We're about to embark into our keynote speech. We have somebody very special with us. He has more than a decade of experience in the tourism travel trade industry. He has hosted many interesting events. As a matter of fact, I've been to a couple. They're very inspiring. And what I like most about it is that they're very targeted destination marketing. And that's what we're all about in Aruba. I'm talking about the founder of the Digital Tourism Think Tank, also known as the DTTT, Mr. Nick Hall. Nick, welcome. Bombini.
Thank you, and it's great to be here. And obviously we're in very strange circumstances where events like this just are really difficult to make happen in person right now. But I think you guys are doing a great job digitally, and hopefully it won't be long before we can all see each other again. You know, you've made really significant progress this week with opening up and getting the industry back on track. So let's make sure that we do that successfully, safely, and we rebuild better and stronger. And that's what I want to talk to you about in today's keynote.
Indeed, Nick. And I know that you're a leader and an advocate for destination transformation. And I think it couldn't be more relevant at this point in time. So how do you see, the coming year for all destinations, not only Aruba, but how important is the destination transformation going to be next year?
Well, that is such a big question. I mean, right now we're at such a point in history which is just unprecedented. There really is no benchmark for this. But we've been talking about digital transformation for the last 10 years or so. We've been trying to work with the industry to make those changes in how they think, how they act, how they work, so that they can embrace all the opportunities of digital, from the sales and distribution opportunities to get out there and to target new customers, right through to the kind of branding opportunities to tell their story and create a stronger brand experience that resonates with people online. But now, when we think about transformation, it is so much bigger than just digital on its own. When we talk about transformation in the context of today, it's about absolutely transforming the entire business from a pre-pandemic business to a post-pandemic business. And that's the same for destinations. We need to shift our mindset. We even need to shift what it means to be a DMO. Yes, of course, we have a crucial role to play in branding, in promoting, in marketing, and in driving people to visit the destination, just as you guys are doing. But there's also so much more today. We have to think about the problems and the challenges and how we can use leadership to make that journey just a little bit easier, to remove the barriers to travel and to provide that sense of trust and confidence back with consumers who are so desperately needing to see something which they can trust right now. So I think we have a really crucial role to play. And when we think about transformation, we need to think about a complete work culture transformation in every single sense. We need to recognize that there isn't any returning back to how things were. The future is going to look radically different to how it was before. And even if tomorrow there's a vaccine and the whole world wakes up vaccinated and happy and ready to travel again, nobody wants to travel as they did before. And so just as digital required a shift in mindset from management and leadership in different organizations, and that was particularly difficult in so-called legacy companies that had maybe a lot of history behind them, and it's quite difficult to make that change. Now we need to make that second mindset shift, which is understanding what's happened out there and understanding that our customers, our visitors, they've changed. They have different values. They have different needs. They have a lot more hesitations than they ever had before. And, we really need to wake up and respond to that, because the market is more competitive than ever. I think we've seen a little bit of that from the summer when there was that glimpse of opening up. Everyone just rushed to a small number of places. So we have more competitiveness than ever, but competing is really not so much about price anymore. And it's much more about how we build a really meaningful connection with our visitors and show that we can provide something which truly means that word value for them. And that's where we have to dig really deep and understand what value is to our customers and how we can be part of creating it.
Yes, it is quite a different field we're playing next year. And I know you've worked with many different destinations, ranging from Greenland to Hawaii, to islands in the Caribbean, to countries in the Middle East. So I'm very glad that you were able to join us and share some of your insights. I think more than ever, people are looking for beacons of not hope, but at least directions to go into. And nobody really knows where this is going to lead to, and nobody really knows the solution and the answer. But I'm confident that, within the tourism industry, I think we're the most creative industry out there. So it's going to be all right. So without further ado, Nick, I'm really looking forward to your keynote presentation and what insights you have to share with us. So thank you again, and I'm going to enjoy your keynote.
What is that how things were before the pandemic is certainly not going to be how things are after the pandemic. The whole world has completely changed. People's set of values have changed. What people actually look for has completely transformed. And we know that there's a lot of volatility and uncertainty ahead when we consider the global financial climate. And we also consider how people's lives have been impacted by the pandemic. So we must pay attention to this if we're to succeed in the new normal, because the next period is going to be hotly competitive and it's going to require us to really understand. So the first step for every business to take is to look at what they do, where they create positive impact, and ask themselves, can we be more transparent with our customers? Can we be more open? Can we show really who we are and what our values are? Because it's more than just a product or experience. It's about actually something more meaningful, deeper within. We also have to think about those operational changes that we are working with as businesses as well. And there's so many different opportunities now to be creative and to reimagine spaces and how we interact and engage people in different open spaces as well. This is a great example of how Stella Artois have reimagined the experience of meeting up and socializing with friends with the Truman Brewery in London, where they created a huge outdoor mural where people could congregate in different bubbles on top of this mural. It's a great example of a brand that's had to adapt and respond to the current situation. And for a business which is reliant on the hospitality sector to reimagine how it creates a space where people can come together, thinking beyond the restrictions of those four walls that we obviously have much more limitations with, considering social distancing and all of those factors as well. Another thing is transparency. Transparency is really, really key right now. And especially with a lot of consumers, especially millennials and Gen Z, expecting brands to show positive impact and commitments to local communities, to society, to the planet. So how do we show that? Well, we can show that in a really incredible way using digital, because digital allows us to show every little detail about how we work, to show where we invest, what the impact is, what activities we do, and how we contribute to a local community or to society. And it's up to us as businesses to demonstrate and show that to our customers. We know already that customers are demanding and seeking to know how brands are impacting in the local community, and they want to interrogate and look into that. And furthermore, they're actually expecting businesses to show that they're doing something good, that they are so-called giving back to society. So it's important in a digital world that we think about the importance of being a glass box brand and being 100% transparent and honest with our customers. The next is safety. Safety is something we never really spoke about before. In fact, we always said that in tourism, it's very unwise to say that you're safe. It's not the sort of thing that you should really say, because obviously there are so many things that could happen. But when we think about safety today, we think about hygiene, cleanliness, taking really careful measures to make sure that the safety of our customers, of our local communities, of our employees is really safeguarded and protected. So how do you win on this? Because it's not exactly the most exciting subject to think about. And for most businesses, they've followed the guidelines, they've put in place protocols, and they've incorporated that into the business. I wouldn't suggest that there's a single business watching that hasn't taken the necessary measures. But to succeed today, you have to think further. Think about how safety can actually become your USP, the thing which sets you apart from all of the competition, because you don't just follow the protocol. You actually go way further than any guidelines, and you put in place something which actually creates an incredible experience around a safe experience. Here's an example of the brand Lush that most of you will probably have heard of. They created a 30-second soap It's a very simple concept, something you just rub in your hands, takes 30 seconds, and it disappears. Now, this is just something very playful and enjoyable, but it's also a great talking point. And it's a demonstration of how you can make safety and cleanliness part of the brand's conversation. Now, if you're a hotel and you're thinking, well, what does a bar of soap have to do with me? There are so many ideas that you can take this further with. You can incorporate products like that into the guest experience to really transform and create that talking point within the business. Or you can think about different ways to create social spacing. One of the most famous, and it actually came out of the Netherlands, was restaurants that put little greenhouses alongside the canals where people could have private dining in these really great greenhouses. And it's just a great way to actually say, well, we're very safe, but we want to make safety a premium experience and not a compromise. So it's really important you think about that. Now, I mentioned it at the very beginning, but sustainability, I cannot tell you how important this is for everybody right now. Obviously, we're very aware of the impact that the travel industry has on the planet, and this is something that we need to work on. I know that Aruba is really far ahead in working on that and has some very, very ambitious commitments, so that's amazing. But we also need to think about what we can do at an individual level and what we can ask our customers to do as well. I want to show you an example of a city that has responded to this growing demand for sustainability, and that is the city of Helsinki. The tourism board, Helsinki Marketing, realized that actually, as a destination, they were very, very strong on sustainability. And with a lot of private accommodation and a lot of the industry evolving around platforms like Airbnb, they realized that there's an opportunity to speak up, to be almost like an activist, a champion to the cause of sustainability. And they created this microsite, which was all about telling the world that Helsinki is a sustainable city. And they called it Zero BNB. And it's really just a PR campaign, but it has a very strong message, which is that they want to see Airbnb add a sustainable homes category to the platform. Sometimes taking very bold actions like this helps a brand to stand out and helps create a talking point. So it's up to everybody to think about how they can create that talking point. Now, when we look at the future business scenario, we know that we can't rely on our assumptions alone. We need to work with really, really deep insights. So a very smart move, and if you're not doing it already, I'm sure most of you are, look at data. Look at what the data is telling you. And you need to now look at data and insights on a weekly basis. We used to use research and strategy on an annual basis, or even 2 to 3 years at a time. We would wait before we do our next strategy overhaul. But right now, decisions have to be made in real time because the situation around us is changing all the time. And if we look at data today, it's going to be very different tomorrow. The first thing you need to do is gather insights around your operations and your business. Be ready for uncertainty. Correct all of your assumptions by challenging them and questioning them. And lastly, be ready to pivot. Even if Aruba is opening up right now, you still need to be ready to diversify, to think about a changing business model, because the reality is that the market has changed. What people are looking for has changed, and we need to be ready to respond with a different offer for our customers. Think about how you can optimize that visitor journey. Perhaps you're having lower yields right now, and that's something that may be a reality for the next year. Think about how you can use your marketing tools, whether it's MailChimp, whether it's your guest management services, or whether it's your in-destination experience. Think about how you can link those different connections. There are so many great tools out there. We love tools like Zapier and Automate.io. They're brilliant tools at connecting multiple different platforms that are based in the cloud and creating that seamless customer journey from one platform to another. For the hospitality sector, this is the true success of being omni-channel in a digital world. But also think about how you can use new technologies to respond to today's problems. Well, we've all been talking about chatbots and AI, but here's a great example of a company called Bebop, who has been creating an AI solution specifically for the hospitality sector. So if you're a restaurant, or if you're a hotel, or a destination, look out in the market at what solutions are going to respond precisely to your needs. This is really great because it allows you to build in a crisis response system directly into the chatbot. So when there is an issue, you can communicate one to many and very quickly get that information out to people. answer their frequently asked questions, so to speak, in that automated environment. But there's so many different chatbots. There's one, Phoebe, you see on the screen there as well, that works just in the restaurant sector. And it's very, very nuanced and specific and focuses on that. So think about what's right for you. Also, think about the need and the demand from customers for a contact-free experience, and make this also your USP, as well as thinking about safety and as well as thinking about sustainability. There are so many apps today which are automating those interactions and making those contact-free, from the early stages of the journey right through to in the destination, such as a restaurant that's fully booked because you have social distancing measures in place. Use a queuing app which will allow people to queue on their phone and come back when they've reached the top of the queue. Or use an app table ordering app that will allow people to have a really amazing experience, just like they're browsing their favorite Uber Eats or Deliveroo, but they're in your restaurant and they're browsing the menu and they're able to book, order, and even pay at the table. This, in the long run, will create incredible operational efficiencies. And in the short run, it's about creating a trusted, safe, and an incredible experience for a market that's increasingly looking for digital experiences in the real experience. And that brings me to the last point, which is it's all about experience. Don't forget why you set up what you do, why you're passionate about being a travel industry pro. It's all about creating something truly unique and incredible. This is a brand called Unyoked. They specifically say we are not a hotel, and they absolutely reject the traditional concept of a hotel. And throughout the whole brand experience, you don't feel like you're dealing with a hotel. You feel like you're dealing with an experience. It's all about pulling on the emotions and creating something that acts as a real emotional trigger. If you're in the retail sector or any other area, think about diversifying. This is an example of a business that's based right next to us that opened just before the second lockdown, and they had to close again within 2 weeks. They had to work so fast and so agile. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say be ready to pivot. They had to change from imagining a retail environment to being able to launch their shop online in 3 weeks with thousands of products, get all of that inventory listed, and be able to sell the products online through virtual Instagram tours, through one-to-one FaceTime chats where they could show the customers their products, and really doing everything they could to create that sense of a real interaction in a digital environment. And you know what? They are really successful despite being closed right now. Another brand, which is a luxury brand, is called Up Norway. I think you should just check this out and really look at everything they do if you want to see how a traditional business model can be brought online to create a really incredible premium experience from end to end. This focuses on pre-trip through to the experience, creating a digital, personalized, and automated experience with a dose of personalization thrown in. When you book, you personalize your trip by going through a personalization tool, which gathers data about what you're looking for. And when you travel in the destination, you have an app that accompanies you and a concierge in your phone all the time. They are tapping into the new luxury, a new market that's seeking to be self-reliant on their own self-service approach to digital, but have at the same time a premium experience thrown in. If you're in the destination and deeply rooted with the nature, the places around you, think about how you can team up and partner up with different brands. This is a great example of a yoga concept, which is actually an annual event, but it's so interlinked with all of the other tourism players. And it's a great example of how you can create an event which brings people to the destination and connects them with different experiences within the destination. This is product development 101. If you look at this example, it's on the same island of Jersey. It's the Deloitte Ride Across Britain. It's a movement to actually get people to ride and to go out and set themselves a challenge. But you as a destination and also a set of businesses can really also think, how can we create a challenge where we invite people to come to Aruba to do something good, and maybe to do something good for a cause that's back in the home market, maybe for a cause that's really meaningful back in the Netherlands. Think about those connections between the destination and the origin markets and how you can create product that actually drives people to go because they know it's doing something really good. This is another business based in the US, and they source locally crafted products from all around the world. And I really like this because Single Thread Farms is actually not about only the local environment. They curate great products, handcrafted from all over the world, but they also show that through the visitor experience and through the guest experience. And it's a rejection of globalization, and it's really talking to a growing trend. Here's a completely different example of a business, a hotel, which has created these audio spaces within the business that really allows people to zone out and create an audio concept that guests can experience the whole thing whilst enjoying the environment of inspiring design whilst they're there. It's about creating a product that responds to niche audiences and understanding that if people can travel less right now, they want to travel in a more meaningful way. They want to disconnect from their life back at home, and they want to reconnect with their passions. And here's a great example of a business that responds to that message on sustainability. It's all about using the transparency, as I spoke about earlier, and showing the impact of you as a business, whether that's your carbon footprint or whether that's the impact on the local community. It's really important to respond to that. So I would definitely check out Goodwings and have a look at what they're doing there. So if we look at the key changes in the visitor cycle, what we have to understand right now is that everything is unlike we've ever known it before. Let's start with awareness and understand what's happening there. People often ask, should I still campaign in my long haul markets if they're shut? Well, the answer is yes, you should still keep the brand top of mind. Use content to keep and retain that inspiration. The travel life cycle and visitor cycle is a very long one. And so inspiration can be built over years, and that conversion can happen at any point. So keep the awareness, don't lose track of brand building, but also be more tactical than you've ever been before. Identify which markets are open and immediately respond to those, because that market is going to be changing all the time. Content can do a really great job of keeping the brand top of mind, but offers, deals, incentives, events, and product development can really drive people to travel there. Help with the understanding phase of the journey by giving really, really detailed understanding of what you've done to adapt and change your business. Make safety a unique selling point, but then use your platforms in digital to show what you're doing. Create incredible content which shows the changes you've made and show that it's actually a brilliant experience. Even consider working with influencers and bloggers to also have a third-party view on that as well. When it comes to planning, think about the ability to use automation to respond to frequently asked questions, but also think about giving a much more detailed set of information that helps people to plan their trip. We've all become micro researchers now. We all look at data. So make sure that you're comfortable sharing data, sharing insights, and giving trust and a sense of confidence back to customers. When it comes to booking, we know that even if things open up and they look like they're on an upward trajectory, there's still a really, really huge concern amongst our customers. So the idea of being ultra flexible and that not being an ancillary or upsell product is really important. Make sure that flexibility drives your bookings, give the confidence, provide the reassurance, and let your customers know that whatever happens, you can change your plans and you understand that they're going through a difficult situation. Of course, it's hard to offer flexibility and nobody really wants to do that, but it's important because it's going to be a bigger win in getting customers to us. And lastly, looking at experiencing, think about a complete service transformation. We used to talk about digital transformation. We used to think about how we can solve a problem with digital. Now think about how your customers, your visitors, can solve a problem in the world. Maybe they can respond to something related to the environment, or maybe they can give back to a community by actually visiting your destination. Try to tap into those things that really matter to people. Think about how digital tools, such as gamifying the outdoor experience, can make that experience more hybrid, more playful, and think about how you can transform those interactions you have on a step-by-step basis within the business. Take every single touch point and say, how can we transform that to a digital touch point, such as the different apps that I showed you earlier. And now, lastly, there are really key messages related to sustainability around the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. They've set a vision towards 2030, which they've invited the world to respond to. I highly recommend that everybody takes a look at the UNWTO SDGs and thinks about how, as a business, they can incorporate that into their business as a blueprint for the path ahead. Because by doing that, you're sure to be successful because you're doing something very positive and impactful, and you're responding to the growing demand from the market.
Thank you, Nick. That was a great presentation. We'll now go into a quick intermission, but while we do so, please enjoy the following song.
Sueño de un capitán perdido en la cúpula ng grandidad al sin piedad, qué soledad y en gana de dormir, pero queda landa. Comienzo y mi lugar, sangre humilde, cara pinta, escondida de cueva, un cielo tan nublado, bendición y aguacero, pagué por cosechar. Oh Aruba, tu chitera, tu sonda malanta, tu sonda ma crece. Oh Aruba, tu chitera, tu sonda malanta, tu sonda ma crece. Mundo solo te sale de para arriba y baja banda pa' abajo. Islas humildes, estima curumana, estima nos te llama Bonaire y Corsón. Venta arriba, cero colorado, guardando de tempo nandilag. Cara pinta maninchan, no sabing di lamang inolubi de koy mirun. Comienzo y mi lugar, sangre humilde, cara pinta, escondida de cueva, un cielo tan nublado, bendición y aguacero, pagué por cosechar. Oh Aruba, tu chitera, tu sonda malanta, tu sonda ma crece. Oh Aruba, tu chitera, tu sonda malanta, tu sonda ma crece. Apagada em tempo de guerra, pra escapar de banco apagada inteira. Rupiano militar, escutar minha bandeira. Não sabe nem nada, tu cruza a fronteira. Não tem preocupação, nós tá pipa bom. Se botem paixão, aqui tem visão. Queda pedir Deus, manda bendição. Proteja-me, está for de maldição. Comienzo e mi lugar, sangre humilde, cara pinta, escondida de cueva, un cielo tan nublado, bendición y aguacero, pagué por cosechar. Oh Aruba, tu chitera, tu sonda malanta, tu sonda ma crece. Oh Aruba, tu chitera, tu sonda malanta, tu sonda ma crece. Yeah, Jayon.
Ooh, I started in 2002, so that's over like 18 years for now. Done a lot of things, hosted television shows, starred in series, acting. I've done musicals. So everything in the entertainment business is, yeah, it's my play field. It's my kindergarten to say it like that. Yeah, I really like it. I've done a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we chose you to moderate this panel discussion. But there's another reason. You have a special connection with Aruba. Can you tell our viewers something more about your connection with Aruba?
Yeah, they say home is where the heart is. And when I was 5, me and my mother and sister, we moved from Aruba to the Netherlands. So I was born on the happy island of Aruba under the sun. And I have to admit that is where my heart still lies. I really miss the sun. I miss the temperature. I miss the beach. I miss the beautiful sea, the ocean. So yeah, that's my special connection. And traveling, as this is the topic, is very important for me because me and my family, we want to go back as much as possible to be home, visit your family, eat the food of the island that we miss a lot of, especially during Christmas and the festivals. Yeah, so that's my special connection with the island. It's my home.
Well, we're bringing it a little bit closer to you virtually. Well, as you said, you have traveled quite a bit and you're still looking forward to travel. Now, obviously, things will change. The travel will look different in 2021. With our panelists, what insights are you looking most forward to?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what you're addressing. Things are gonna change in 2021. And I'm very curious to what are those changes? What does traveling means? Because I think traveling first started to be a luxury for some people. It was very expensive. Then it became cheaper, so everybody could travel, even to the further distances. Um, Going to Aruba, it's like 8,000 miles, kilometers from here. So you really have to, yeah, buy a ticket and have some money saved to go back there. Yeah, I'm very curious to what is really going to change. Is it going to be more expensive again? Is it focusing on sustainable tourism, or are the prices going to go down to make it more attractive? So yeah, I'm very curious to what is going to happen, and I really want. We have a couple of very good panelists on board that are going to give their perspective and their insights on this matter. So I'm very curious.
Well, I'm a bit jealous that you're moderating this panel list. So, without keeping our viewers in suspense, I will let you take over and introduce the panelists. And I wish you a very good and positive discussion.
Thank you, Tirso, and welcome viewers to this session with our panelists to discuss the future of the tourism in 2021 in this Aruba Meets Europe. First of all, I want to tell you that you can participate in this section. In the comment below, you can ask anything that you want. We have a separate online panelist that is answering all of your questions. So we have this online session continuing with our own panelists. I will introduce to you the panelists that we have. We have four beautiful, interesting people standing by. To start with, Ronella Chin Ashu Cruz, the CEO at Aruba Tourism Authority. Hi, Ronella.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being part of this panel. We're moving on to Carol Hay. Carol Hay is from the Caribbean Tourism Organization UK and Europe chapter, all the way from London, I assume.
Yes, I'm in London and it's great to be with you all. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're moving on to our third one, and that's Arjan Kers, Managing Director, TUI Netherlands. Arjan, thank you for having the time to be here on our panel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Buenos dias, todo mundo. Goedemorgen, iedereen.
Thank you, thank you. And our fourth panel is Dan Peisel. He is Commercial Director, Benelux, Air France, and KLM. Thank you for being here, Dan.
Great. Thank you for being able to invite me here. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to your perspectives, your expertise on this matter, as traveling has become more important for us. For globally, it made the world a lot smaller. But during this pandemic, things changed. And before we look forward to our new year, 2021, I want a quick look back to the experiences that you have faced during this pandemic. During the lockdown, what had made you stay awake at night and could not able to sleep? Ronella, I will start with you. How did you experience this lockdown as being a CEO of the Aruba Tourism Authority?
Well, sleepless nights have been many, to say the least. Historic is the fact that for the first time ever, Aruba decided to indeed close its border for air and maritime traffic on March the 17th. And that lasted until June 15th, when we reopened our borders for the neighboring islands of Curacao and Bonaire. And we reopened our borders actually on July 1st for the European market and other specific markets, and on July 10th for the US market. That was probably one of the most difficult decisions we've had to ever make as Aruba. From the tourism authority to other authorities up to the Prime Minister of Aruba, who is in charge of the national crisis team. And of course, a critical part of everything is that there are so many unknowns. There are still so many unknowns. However, we've learned a lot, not only as Aruba, but I would say all of the panelists have certainly more experience and more knowledge in respect to this pandemic and what to do and what steps to adopt. However, before we opened our borders, we had to make sure also that Aruba had all of its protocols in place so as to be able to ensure a safe and a healthy stay on island, not only for our visitors, but also for the community. And that certainly took a lot of effort, and we are very satisfied with what we've seen so far. And the visitors also basically expressed their satisfaction to us.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be. It was a big challenge and a big achievement to get this far in this special crisis time. Carol, you being an expert on managing, especially for the broader audience branding, how did you experience these last months?
Well, it's definitely been very challenging for the CTO chapter UK and Europe because we're an association of both public and private sector stakeholders. So when you're dealing with that many stakeholders who tourism is very important to, you have to have a look at the big picture, look at the impact. And yes, it has been devastating for many destinations. They have had to close. This in turn impacts on the service providers, the inbound operators, the hotels, the attractions, and of course, the economy is taking a hit. But I think the general consensus is that it really is better to be safe than sorry. And, you know, we've received great feedback globally about how the Caribbean on the whole has managed COVID. And yes, we want to do better. We want to do things differently, but the Caribbean has been very proactive in the process of managing COVID. Of course, most of the visitors to the Caribbean come from markets that are highly impacted by COVID. So there has to be a lot of discussion, dialogue, and working together to ensure that as the Caribbean opens up and we welcome more visitors to our shores, we are confident that we're able to take care of the visitors, take care of the community, and should we have to deal with any issues that arise in the destination, that we have the health resources available, not only to take care of the visitors, but also our own Caribbean people who are providing an invaluable service to visitors and to overseas partners.
Yeah, nicely said. Nicely said. I move on to Arjan, being managing director of TUI, a very young organization, a popular organization. I think addressing a broader audience is main goal for the organization that you stand for. Being in this pandemic, closing borders, cutting off a lot of income. What was your experience?
Yeah, it has been like a roller coaster, like I have said, because in the beginning of March, I was still questions about can I go to Aruba in this case, and I said, yeah, you can go easily, but 2-3 weeks after, everything was closed, and it has been a very difficult time. We're talking about ups and downs. We're talking about closing down our whole business in the months of April, May, June, closing all our shops in the Netherlands and also in the other countries, closing down our airline, and then restarting again because it was announced in the Netherlands that we could restart on the 1st of July. So we have worked very, very hard with the whole sector and the airlines, with EASA, in the Netherlands with the health office, to fulfill the criteria and to restart again on the 1st of July. And when we started on the 1st of July to fly to some of the European destinations, after 3-4 weeks, again we were confronted by closing down all these destinations again. So we had to repatriate all the clients again, which we already had done in the beginning of the crisis. Almost in the Dutch market, 130,000 people were abroad, and we all had to bring them back. And this was an enormous operation, and to do this again in the middle of this COVID crisis was almost killing. And I really have to say, the whole business is standing still since that time. So at this moment, it's a few business done, but in general, we are almost confronted since 8-9 months with no business, with no income, and it's really hard. A lot of people already closed down the business, but I'm still very optimistic because I know that people want to travel, and there will become a moment that we open the borders again, like we have seen with Aruba last week.
Yeah, we'll get into more details about that. Very interesting. Dan Peisel, Commercial Director of the Benelux Air France and KLM. Kind of same story with TUI. What was your experience?
Yeah, I really recognize all the stories of the other three people that are joining. It was very harsh, very brutal, developing in a pace that we have never seen before. Like what Arjen is saying, it's like a roller coaster. It was a roller coaster, but then on a sliding scale down all the time. You know, like in March or in February, China was closing, so we said, okay, it will take a month. Then America closed. Then the whole world closed. Then in July, indeed, we had some sort of an uptick, and we were positive. We thought, okay, it's coming back, and then we went again back into this negative period. And then I really want to focus my story on 4 points. For the customer, it was incredibly difficult because we couldn't sell our tickets, we couldn't sell our services to them, and we couldn't bring them to the destinations around the world. The only thing that we had with our customers were trouble. Sometimes we couldn't bring them back. We had to give them vouchers, so it was extremely hard for our customers. Then looking at our partners, like TUI, but also smaller travel agencies, tourism boards, our partners at the islands or destinations throughout the world, we see them hurting, collapsing, extremely difficult for our own people. KLM, of course, in the Netherlands is a brand that is there. Everybody knows it. We were in the newspapers all the time. Everybody had an opinion. So customers, partners, employees, it was a very difficult period. It is a very difficult period. But I also really want to join on the words of Arjan, that we are positive. We look forward. We see some business coming back slowly, and we really look forward to the period April and onwards, where we hope that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But it has been a very long tunnel.
I can imagine. Nicely said. It has been a very long tunnel, and maybe the tunnel will continue. A tricky question. To what extent would you continue to promote the destination despite the travel warning? For example, the codes for different countries, because it's an advice, right? It's not a mandate. Is that something that you struggle with? Because we're being advised not to travel, but it's not forbidden. Dan.
Yeah. No, it's a very relevant question, and towards our viewers all over Europe. Of course, there are different rules and conditions per market. Let me take the Netherlands as an example. We work with yellow, red, and orange. We promote actively destinations, and only those destinations that are yellow. Those are the destinations where we can proactively do advertisement, marketing campaigns. Aruba just turned into yellow from the Netherlands, so that's a good step. We can start our business again. The rest of the world, maybe there are 3 or 4 destinations now in yellow. The rest is orange or red. Orange, we do reactive marketing, meaning if a customer searches on our website or online on a certain destination and it looks like he's really wanting to go because he has important business to do, of course, we will sell him a ticket. It's not forbidden to go there, but we are not stimulating travel towards orange destinations.
Yeah. And Arjan, what is your vision?
I think there is a big difference between when you talk about necessary traveling and you talk about package tourism. Since the beginning of the crisis, we are not allowed to send any packaged clients to an orange destination. So even when it's an advice, clients are not insured with package tourism. There is also a jurisdictional difference between the different countries. Yeah, we have visited out to see what is happening in Germany, in UK, in all the countries, and especially you can see that it's different in all the ways. In the Netherlands, it's not allowed. You're not as a client. You're not insured by the company, so you have to take care. So we're not flying to orange destinations. So we're quite happy that Aruba opened to after all the good work they have done, so we can start flying again.
Yeah, and Carol, your broader perspective on the whole industry, what do you think about this?
Do you know, my honest opinion is this is where we see the importance of sustainability and moral leadership in tourism. Yes, we all want to see things go back to what we refer to as being normal. But if we look at the true impact that it will have on the global marketplace, if we do not respect some of the restrictions, it will be a major catastrophe. So while, yes, we want to travel, we want to see people travel, to get to the level of recovery that will build consumer confidence, we will have to make sacrifices. And while it may not necessarily be against the law to travel to some places, if we know morally that it will have a negative impact on that community, then we need to do the right thing and to wait until it is safe for visitors to travel and for the nationals of that country to actually receive visitors. So for me, we really have to focus on the sustainable impact of this crisis and what can happen if we're not mindful of the actions that we take.
Yeah, but I can imagine, Ronella, that if a place like Aruba, a destination like Aruba, relies a lot on tourism, to what extent can you focus on quality and sustainability instead of the making it commercial and broader?
Allow me to just comment also on the previous point. So indeed, well, as Aruba, we promote the destination in approximately 20 countries around the world, including the US, which is on itself a huge, let's say it's composed of, if you will, different countries in a country. So every state has a different measure. These things keep changing as well. So from a destination perspective, what has been important for Aruba and what is a key part of our brand identity and positioning as the one happy island, we have continued to communicate with our partners as well as the consumers throughout the crisis, throughout the journey. We've never stopped doing that. We have put a halt on different activities, of course, including when the borders were closed. That is a logic step. However, as a brand, we came forward, for instance, as the one happy island, bringing happiness to the world, showing empathy as well, and spreading positivity. So that for that, we used a lot of social media activations. And then, of course, as the borders opened, we then kicked in our marketing activities as well and increased that gradually. Now, with the code the code yellow, for the Netherlands, we had a campaign ready to go, which we launched already, and it's all about the yellow theme. So we adjust and adapt based on the source market as well from a destinations perspective, because all of the markets are different. And then going back to your question in terms of quality tourism, so the emphasis on that, I would like to say two things. Aruba's vision has always been based on the attraction of quality tourism. What is quality tourism? Quality tourism is a tourist with the propensity to pay certain rates and to invest in an experience that is an Aruba type of experience. But also, quality tourism is attracting tourists with a mentality match in respect to what we value, offer, and what Aruba stands for. We believe that that is important because that is aligned with the vision of Aruba, which is a strategy based on, we refer to it, a high value, low impact tourism growth model. The high value, low impact stands for a balance between an excellent visitor experience, balanced with a high quality of life for our residents, taking the economic contribution into account as well as the environmental impact into account. So that is something that we continue to stand for. Our strategy has not changed. However, also considering the considerable drop in volume of visitors, of course, our strategy is focused on the attraction of volume as well, while maintaining and staying true to our strategy, basically.
Dan from KLM, do you agree? Is it something you can relate on?
Yeah, that is absolutely something that we can relate on. I think together with TUI, we always will focus on quality passengers. I'm not that into quality linking it to the amount of the budget of the passenger. I think let's focus on myself. If we focus on our passengers, of course we have a mix of business class and economy class passengers. We try to go for the high-end market, of course, but we are not planning to increase price levels that much. We expect that people have to invest also a bit in this safety and hygiene factor measurements in the coming period, like tests, etc. So everything will be more expensive for them if we also are going to let price levels go up. That's not our plan. We want to focus on filling the flights that we are allowed to fly to Aruba. But in the end, the marketplace decides. If we have half empty flights, it will be very difficult for us. We had that too many months. So we have to focus on a mix of volume and quality passengers, and we are going to align those strategies with Aruba, with our tour operators, and make sure that we bring in the passengers that they can travel with confidence, following the right measures, and I'm confident that it will work.
Yeah. Arjan, from TUI's perspective?
No, I can follow the words of Dan and also what the other participants say, but I think it's still an issue of supply and demand. Also, one of the important things I've heard before is that we have to have very cautious, because at this moment, people after 8 months sitting at home, frustrated, without any perspective, they want to travel. Travel has become a necessity of life. And I think it's also, everybody knows that holiday right now is helping you to unstress. So I think it's the best thing to do. But take care, because when we're running too fast and we're moving forwards only on volume, it can have also a negative effect. So we have to be very cautious by opening destinations, to have very good control on all the measures we have implemented the last months and where we worked on all together, destinations, airlines and tour operators. So I think this is the most important thing. And you see that some of the destinations, they have put a max amount of arrivals, which I think is a good to start also to control the situation in the destination and not be affected again by 1 or 2 months that we have to close down the destination again. It would be terrible, not only for us, it would be terrible for the destination, but also for the clients, because then you're losing a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I understand. Being in the situation that it's as I want to quote the words of Dan, in a tunnel that is keep on going, in a roller coaster that is keep on going down, hasn't that a lot to do with the prices of the tickets being too cheap? Isn't it too out there for everyone to spend, to travel? And then I'll look to Ronella first.
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I believe if your question is, has it become too cheap to travel,
Yeah, yeah.
or I think Dan and Arjan said it correctly. It's a game of supply and demand. In the case of Aruba, of course, while maintaining our strategy as much as possible, also including in terms of hotel rates, etc. Of course, there are adjustments, and it's all about the revenue management system. So if there is no demand, you adjust your rates as well. You adjust your pricing so as to attract more people to your properties. And same as for the other players in the industry. What we've done as Aruba is we've come forward as a destination with different offers for the consumers. So we have specific deals with value-added components, with lowered rates. So that is part of the mix of what Aruba has to offer, and you can find more deals at this moment, of course, because of the need to push demand. And on the other hand, we've also come forward with different specific campaigns. One which we're launching soon in the Netherlands, in this case, and in other countries in Europe, is the One Happy Workation campaign. This will allow visitors to, as we know, in several of the countries, you have to either work at home, so it's obligatory, or there is a preference where you're asked to work from home. Now, with this campaign, we invite you to come to Aruba for an extended stay, and then you simply do your work, but then you are sitting on the beach or basically at one of our other attractive locations and working from Aruba. So this is the One Happy Workation campaign, which we rolled out in the US market, and we will be rolling that out in the Dutch market and several of the European markets soon. So these are things that we do in order to attract the visitor. So it's about pricing, yes, but it's also about adding value and following and taking into account the trends out there and coming forward with things that cater to the visitor's needs.
Is that, and this question is for everyone, as I will point out the panelists, are these the new travel needs for the customers during and post-COVID, Carol? Do you think that the needs of the traveler has changed then?
100%. And this ties in with a lot of the things that Ranella has said. Number one, there's a greater focus on slow tourism, which means that people spend longer. They take more time to explore the communities, and they also spend more within the communities. And yes, we're seeing a shift towards a slower, more experiential type of tourism. It has a far more positive impact on communities. Other things that our studies and our research have indicated that visitors will be looking for is that health and wellness is now paramount. They really want to shake off some of that stress. So they want to know that when they're traveling overseas to Aruba, for example, any of the exercise or the dietary requirements that they had at home, they can still have during that long stay away from home. There's also a greater need for space. People want to ensure that they can still social distance. They also want to ensure that with all the plastic that's been introduced since COVID, single-use plastic, protective gear and equipment, that countries such as Aruba have the resources to get rid of plastic in the right way, and they don't want to come to the Caribbean, to Aruba, and see litter and debris. So yes, the question you've asked, Kurt, is perfect. Visitors, their expectations have changed. They are holding destinations to be more accountable, not only to the visitor, but to their own communities. Visitors don't want to know that they can have injections and all the things to keep them safe from COVID, and these are not available for the community. So visitors have changed, and they have a greater respect now for mankind and how we look at each other. So hopefully we will see a kinder type of tourism or more mindful, thoughtful tourism, and this will impact on the destinations and coincide with some of the programs that Ranella has said that she's introduced in Aruba, and I'm sure the rest of the region is also looking at.
I think that's a good thing. Arjan, do you recognize this change?
I have to say, I don't recognize it. Yeah, because one of the things, yes, what Carol said, I think people changed already before COVID. Don't forget, for example, we started already 50 years ago when we talk about sustainability. So for us, it's like our strategy 2020, better holidays, better world. Now we go to 2030, better holidays, better world. But when you really take a look to the human creature is people like habit. They have habits, have routine, and they will come back on the same. And I think much more than before, because one of the things you see at this moment, people want to travel, people want to go away, and we can't refuse them to go to a destination. The only thing is that there will be some measures which we will take along out of this COVID, but the way of traveling, I don't see it will change.
Dan, do you agree?
Yeah, to be honest, there's a truth in every word. I first start with Ronella. I love, after working at home for 9 months with 3 children here, I love the workation. I think I'm ready for a workation, and maybe Arjan, everybody will join. We love to do our business from the beach in Aruba. Then looking at Carol, I love your words, the way you say it. I almost start believing it. And yes, I think that's a vision that we want to go and follow. But it will be difficult. And in the end, I join Arjan in this. Our customers, we know them a bit, I hope. In the end, they will just book and go on holiday. And I hope they realize that Aruba did a huge effort in getting the island sustainable, doing the hygiene measurements, creating a travel with confidence for our passengers together with the airlines. And I hope they realize that you cannot take it for granted, and they have to respect the environment, and they have to respect the island where they are, and they respect the people. I hope this crisis changed a bit the mindsets of people, but I'm not sure. What I for now hope is that they start traveling again, and do that in a bit a different way. Yeah.
Kurt, there's probably one thing I want to add. And while I definitely support everything that has been said, our region will have to demand some of these changes and put them in place. When we look at what is happening with small island developing states, and when we look at some of the destinations that have been impacted by hurricanes, earthquakes, water shortage, solid waste disposal, in order to have a tourism product that can serve generations in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we will have to make some of the changes that we want the norm, because it's the only way. So I do understand what the gentlemen are saying now, and we've heard this so many times in tourism, that visitors don't want to be bothered with some of the housekeeping issues that destinations have to have. But the more we look at the impact of some of these issues on small island states, is the more we realize that we have got to put changes in place for our own survival and sustainability. But it's about working collaboratively and making it happen, not enforcing it, but working collaboratively.
Are you, Carol, are you saying that the industry, as in the companies and the organizations that are in this tourism industry, have a responsibility to also create a certain culture within the tourism? Is that what you mean?
100% I am saying it, and that's why the destinations need to have greater collaboration with airlines, tour operators, cruise lines, because we need to sustain, the Caribbean as a region is very susceptible to many factors that other parts of the world are not susceptible to. But the good thing is that we have some wonderful environmental agencies, solid waste agencies right across the Caribbean, and it's about really putting putting that voice forward and saying that we want visitors, but at the same time, we also want to have a Caribbean that is strong and can continue to overcome some of the challenges that we're facing. So when I look at the great programs that Aruba is doing, it shouldn't be in vain. The support should be there to ensure that the destination gets all the support that it needs.
So, Carol, I think equal level of playing field throughout the whole Caribbean is very, very important. Also through the organization, as in KLM and TUI. I'll go to Dan. Dan, do you agree with Carol as she is for the equal playing field?
Yeah, I think the equal playing field. So there are different angles, but I think in this case the level playing field in the islands was mainly focused on Curacao was doing this. They are putting a gap. Aruba was doing this. Every island had different or has different access terms and conditions. And I think every airline wants standardization. That works the best. Then we can explain it to our customers in the most simple way. And that's what we want. So if Aruba, Curacao, Sint Maarten, the whole region want to help us and our customers align it. But we have the same problem on our side. The European Union is also not aligned. We have different rules and conditions for every market. So I think this is a worldwide problem. And we hope IATA will help out there and we will create a standardized process focused on hygiene, safety, etc. So talking about level playing field, I think on the COVID measurements, yes, we hope for. And maybe just one small remark on the sustainability here. As you know, both TUI and KLM are really in the top of sustainability, the airlines. We have a lot of things in place and it's hugely important. So again, I really like the words that are being said. I hope our customers think alike. We as airlines also want to continue our strive for being more sustainable. And if we can explain our customers that only compensating the flight is not enough, but also be sustainable arriving in Aruba, we will do.
Arjan?
No, I agree 100% with his words. And also to come back on what Carol said, for me, it's nothing to do with COVID. That's why I meant before. For me, already before COVID, you see a change in habits and in customer behavior when we talk about sustainability. And for example, I always say it starts already on the sofa. And the moment you elect a destination, a hotel, apartment, I can tell you that nowadays people really search for green holidays, for fair holidays, because it's much more broader than only the flight. It's the destination, the impact, what they're doing about sustainability, but also the company, ourselves. So when I see the products at the moment, the package holidays we're putting in place, a big part of these packages already are totally fully sustainable. And you see that clients really electing the destination, but also the package and also the airline. So I think it's a combination of N. And I think this is very important and this will grow in the future. We need to give a fantastic holiday or travel to the next generations. And this is our responsibility.
Yeah. Now, looking forward to 2021, we don't know how soon this problem and these challenges will be fixed. Will fast testing on COVID be our savior, be a tool to speed things up? What do you think, Carol?
I think it will definitely help. I think there are a number of factors that are going to help us in COVID. First of all, it's the first time that many people, alive right now have seen a pandemic on this level. We've heard about other things and they haven't necessarily been on our door. So yes, I think fast testing is going to be crucial. I also believe that for those who believe and want the vaccination, that's also going to be crucial. But I think most importantly, what the destinations like Aruba has been doing in terms of the pre-entry requirements and protocols, what happens during visitors' experiences. I think it's going to be very important not only to have testing, but to ensure right across the visitor experience that people know what to do if they get sick, during their experience, they feel unwell going home, and what they also need to do when they return home. It's a process, and I think everyone needs to know what the process will be. But yes, testing will help.
Ronella, is that something that the authority is focusing on?
Yes, and allow me to comment on the aspect of sustainability as well. I can recognize the feedback from all panelists because indeed, as indicated before, Aruba has not changed its strategy. The strategy remains the same as pre-COVID, and that already focused on sustainability for the well-being of our people, but also taking into account what visitors are looking for and what they appreciate. So from both angles. However, one thing that I do want to add is that every crisis presents also opportunities. And what we've seen also is that not only thinking about sustainability from an environmental perspective, however, automation, progress, and developments in line with low touch economy, all of these things, there are clear examples in Aruba of things that have been accomplished in a couple of weeks and that have been discussed prior to COVID for years or months. So that is an example of opportunities which did lead to acceleration in terms of sustainability efforts. And that is something that we need to embrace and will continue to do so. In respect to testing, we are very happy with progress booked on that front. Why do I say that? Because yes, Aruba applies a 100% testing policy. You either provide your negative test result in advance and you upload it in on this platform, which is designed for that, or you conduct your test on island. However, as things develop, we have reached, for instance, an agreement with, in this case, a US carrier, where they provide the testing to the customers. And these are things that we're open for. So we do welcome the initiatives on behalf of the airlines as well in facilitating that passenger process and the passenger experience. So these are things that we're looking forward to. And I do want to add that I agree, more consistency in terms of approach does facilitate the consumer as well and the communication efforts on that front. However, we all face the fact that we had to reopen our borders, and all of the destinations made an effort to basically apply the best approach possible. And what we've seen interestingly in Aruba, and thankfully in Aruba, is that pre-COVID, our satisfaction level on behalf of visitors was at 8.9, and the maximum score is of 10. And post-COVID, we are at between 9 and 10. And we do measure our health and sanitation protocols specifically, and these score very well. And that is, for us, that is very valuable because people do also recognize the fact that they feel safe. So they value the approach as well. But in any case, we also believe that there should be more consistency. So we are following closely the developments in respect to IATA, in respect to Common Pass, working with airlines, and we will continue to work with airlines as well in making sure that every effort we can make together to facilitate the journey, that we're there as a destination as well to collaborate in this regard.
Thank you. Dan, is that something that KLM is also focusing on? Is it something that the responsibility could be carried by a company like yours?
Yes, absolutely. So testing at itself is not per se an airline thing, but it's an airport thing we believe in. We want to build, and we help Schiphol in it, and it's at the moment we are leading it because we have some trouble towards China. We are building the best test center in the world. That's our ambition at Schiphol, meaning for now everybody needs a blood test and a PCR test going to China, but a lot of countries will follow, and we will be ready before the end of December to have a test center big enough to get huge volumes, not only for KLM, but also for TUI, for Corendon, for competitors, for everybody. We will be ready to have and test people at Schiphol, hopefully quick tests if not the normal PCR test for transfer passengers, but also for local passengers. The idea is that you just, you don't have to prepare yourself that well. You have to go to the airport, you test yourself, you get the results. If it's positive, of course, that's not good. We rebook your tickets, you go home, you go into a different flow. So we have a lot of things at hand, and we are preparing when the world opens, that we are ready to have these facilities in place. And quick testing will be part of it, but it's our Dutch government, but also in Europe, not everything is approved. So there are a lot of commercial companies coming up with tests. Look, I have a quick test. We have to really look for quality.
Yeah, Arjan, is it realistic? Is this new way of traveling, fast testing, and putting it all in place in the airport and with the different companies? Is it realistic?
It is realistic. I have to say that we do it already since months. So when I heard it's all, we didn't stop. With the startup in let's say in the 1st of July. To Greece, it was only allowed to enter the Dutch clients with a PCR test. So we already started. Also with Curaçao, in the last months, we have all the clients have been tested before departure. And I think this is the most important thing. You can put the whole world on orange, let's say, given a negative travel advice. But when you test before departure and you test by coming back to your home country, you can avoid to put the whole world on orange. This is, I think, one of the most important thing. And I was this week myself on one of the test streets we have installed for our clients, and the possibility of PCR, of quick test, it's possible already. But I go back to what Dan is saying. It's also the governments who are keeping their hands on, let's say, some of the commercial party. They said, oh, it's not approved. So the only official test approved by the Dutch government at the moment is the PCR test. And this takes quite a lot of time when you want to have the results. It's almost more than 2 days. So it also gives some delay in this way that sometimes clients lose their flight. They have to go a day later. So it's not nice. But the quick PCR is ready to roll out. We are using it already for some clients to the Canary Islands. So I think in the Netherlands, we are quite ahead when you look all the other countries. And I can talk with my 3 colleagues in UK and Germany. They're right now starting to dialogue about these things. But it's a combination from the local government, but also from the government and what is expected by the destination. But it's ready to roll out. It's ready to bring holiday makers again to the destination. So I'm quite optimistic over there. But it's testing before and testing when you come back.
Carol, you are nodding. Do you agree? You have a big smile. Is this something that is going to speed things up?
Yeah, I think Arjun has summed it up so well when he said, yeah, we're keen to get holiday makers traveling again. And at the end of the day, all of us around this panel, that's what we're in. We're in this business of travel, tourism, moving people, experiences, and anything that we can do to achieve that safely, I am definitely in favor.
Yeah, fear is a big game changer, I guess, with the whole pandemic. Ronella, yeah?
If I may add, Kurt, thank you.
Sure.
Indeed, just to re-emphasize that, of course, as Aruba, being part of the Dutch Kingdom, we are an integral part of those dialogues that take place on a structural basis, have been taking place on a structural basis with the Netherlands as well, with the specific authorities in the Netherlands. So indeed, I recognize what Arjen said as one of the challenges. In comparison to other destinations, we do follow the Dutch advice in respect to accepting a PCR test and then applying basically the rule that you have to take the test within 3 days pre-travel and you have to get the results within 3 days pre-travel. We apply this worldwide. And that has been the biggest challenge that our consumers face. So indeed, it is something to overcome. And with a rapid test, hopefully, yes. If that is the way to do it, then we'll do it. So far on island, the rapid test is used in specific cases. However, we do really stimulate our customers to conduct the test in advance, but then there is that time aspect that they have to take into account, and that's a challenge.
Ronella, as soon as travel is allowed and things speed up, do you think prices will go up to actually make make up for the losses that the industry has suffered?
No, that goes back to what I indicated before. I mean, it's a balancing act. In the case of Aruba, we've lost a lot. Everybody has lost huge amounts of business. We closed last year with approximately 1.1 million stayover arrivals as Aruba. We've seen a year-over-year growth over the past years. And this year, we're anticipating to close the year with a recuperation of between 30 and 35% of what we've received in 2019. For next year, it will be between, according to projections, between 45% to 60% recuperation versus 2019 numbers. So there is that balancing act of indeed just trying to generate business, not throwing away your strategy. You have to remain on strategy as much as possible, but changing tactics. And changing tactics includes also adjusting your pricing in any case. So it's revenue management models that all of us have to manage. And as demand goes up and down, then we adjust pricing. That is what will happen basically. But the fact of the matter remains that we're all in a need to attract visitors, and we're trying to strike that right balance basically.
Carol, what do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's going to be based on demand and supply, but I think that pricing has to be more strategic than competitive, because at the end of the day, the biggest competitor to any market or destination is simply for visitors to stay home. You know, when I look at what countries are doing, the Netherlands, the UK, the USA, there's a massive push on domestic tourism. Stay home, it's safe. That's what, outbound markets are up against. So I think that you just can't compete on a pricing strategy. It has to be strategic, and it also has to be what the market can take. And I think, as Renella said, you just can't be putting prices up, because at the end of the day, we will never be able to fill the gap. No government or country or airline or tour operator could possibly cover the losses by putting prices up. So it has to be a real strategic decision as to how pricing will be right the way through. And as I said, honestly, for all the people who want to travel, there are still a lot more that are quite happy to stay home. So it has to be a strategic decision.
Yeah, Dan, do you agree? I can imagine that because of the industry has lost a lot of money, you want to get it back somehow.
Yeah, I agree with the words of Carol. To be honest, let me not go into do we increase or decrease prices. This is not the place and the time. Our prices must be affordable. If we have affordable tickets, the demand will be there. Our passengers want to fly, or with TUI or with us. I don't care. It's like they have to fly. We need full flights. So in the end, it's all the supply and demand trick, as said before. I'm not that worried about people staying home. The Netherlands is going in we have 11 months of rain and then 1 month of sun here. So in the end, people will travel to Aruba. The Netherlands is beautiful, but in the end, people want to go to the beach and experience their holidays again. So let's make sure that we keep prices affordable, taking into account that people have to make extra cost for testing, etc. And we also have to push. A PCR test can be very expensive. Of course, if you negotiate well, it can be cheap, but in the end, we must go to price levels of 10 or 20 euros per PCR, because otherwise, for a family of 5, it will be not affordable to have 5 tickets, hotel rooms, and all the testing things. So, making it affordable, making people wanting to fly, and then the day that we will go back to the black numbers, the positive price level, we will see. We don't expect this to be next year. Next year, we expect around 50% of our revenues. We are happy with the support that we got. then let's see. It will come back, but first we have to get the demand back.
First, yeah. And, Arjan, do you agree?
Yeah, totally. And also what Carol said, we had to adapt our business model this summer. We couldn't fly to many destinations, so we have sold a lot of holidays in the Netherlands. People enjoyed also. I think it's also, but of course, I think everybody is waiting. They could cross the border again, and I continue saying safe and responsible travel is possible, but test, test, and test. It's not about where you are; it's about your behavior. So I think this is for me the most important thing.
Okay, we only have a couple of minutes left. I want to put this all for you out there. When will this be over? When will we get back to our flying to our destinations? Ronella.
Lucky me. There are two things there. And well, I'm just going to focus on our projections in any case, but this might change as well with the development of the vaccine recently. That's a lot in the news on a global front, but also on the local front. So, of course, this is something that Aruba, in collaboration with the Dutch government, is looking into. And hopefully the first vaccines will be available soon also on island, not for everybody, but of course there will be a specific approach linked to that. That is a positive development. So that might accelerate what I will say next. However, in terms of volume, I indicated, so the number of stayover visitors could be between 45% and 60% of what we've seen in 2019 in 2021. So obviously the 60% recuperation is our optimistic scenario, and the other one is the conservative one. And then for 2022, we're looking at perhaps reaching the levels of volume by the end of 2022 or early 2023. That is what we have so far. Now, things might accelerate that development. However, that is on a volume front. The most critical thing is, of course, revenue for the destination and what that represents in terms of economic contribution. And in the case of Aruba being so dependent on tourism, not only from a GDP perspective, but also from an employment perspective, that is something that we will be monitoring, and that is something that might take a longer time to recuperate. So there are two things there. And then the third thing, which we have not talked about, but in terms of cruise tourism, that is something that there is a longer tail there. So the rate of recuperation will be longer, and that is what we have as part of our projections as well.
Dan, what is your projection?
Also going back to the words of Arjan, I think there are in the end three things. If we do testing, we can start, let's say, tomorrow. If you do that well, you have a rather safe travel today. If you have so the vaccine, the last part. If you have the right medicines, you see it already now compared to April, where we have a lot of people going to the hospitals and suffering severe consequences of the disease. If you look at current days, we have way better treatment and medicines. So if we develop those medicines further in the coming months, I think the disease, as harsh as it was in April, will have less of an impact on people. And then you also can treat it like a smaller thing and not put the whole world in lockdown. And then the third thing, the vaccine, of course, the vaccine will help tremendously, and that will reopen the whole world. But the markets like Aruba or others that do the testing part the best can open the quickest. Medicines will help, and good medical services will help countries to open up. And then the vaccine, of course, is some sort of a solution, we all hope. Then timing-wise, as you see, Curacao, it was yellow for a long time. We have sold a lot of tickets. We brought a lot of people to Curacao to have great holidays. So they opened up. Now Aruba, so we hope that December will be a bit better. But I expect the real first big improvements to happen in March, April, and then market after market will open. And then in the end of the year, we hope to have, let's say, around 50% of the revenue that we had in 2019. And then the years after, this will repair. We have worked on our cost structure big time, so we won't increase prices. We just want to serve our customers better and open up the world. That's where the tunnel ends.
Yes. Arjan, do you agree?
I will not repeat. Yeah, I will not repeat the words of Dan because it counts the same for us. I would like to add something else which we have seen coming out of this COVID. And one of the most important things is that we see that clients, especially travel agents and travel advisors, will come out much more stronger out of this COVID because people look for this personal and carefree service they deliver, much more package holidays. Aruba opened this week the destination again, and we see a big difference before COVID until now. There is a bigger increase of package holidays because people, they want to have sure that when something happens on a destination, that the tour operator take the responsibility to bring them back, and to take care about them. And this also will definitely help the travel agent, travel advisors to come much more stronger out of this crisis. And I think this is a very important thing.
Carol?
Well, for me, the short answer is that it'll probably take about, at least 3 years before the majority of destinations see the type of figures that they saw at the end of 2019. I think recovery will be slow, but partly because of consumer confidence rather than anything else. And I do agree. I think that a crisis like this has also reinforced the value of working with a travel professional and the type of security. I know at one time there was a buzz for dynamic packaging and people doing it themselves. But I think they're also realizing that in a crisis, you do need to work with experts, travel agents, tour operators. You do need to work with them.
Yeah, thank you. We're out of time. It went very fast. I really want to thank you all. As our team says, happiness will prevail. Can I conclude that the industry is kind of optimistic going forward in 2021 and opening the borders, opening the countries again, and making it possible for people to travel to their dream destination, sustainable and not, making it a balance to get this all going. Thank you, Ranella. Thank you, Carol, Dan, and Arjan. I wish you the best of luck. Good luck with the coming months going into the new year, opening up the borders and ending the tunnel that we're in, to quote to Dan. Thank you again for this panel session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Well, Kurt, that was an interesting panel discussion, and it always gets interesting at the end. So I think we all wish we had a little bit of more time.
Yeah.
What stuck to me was the fact that they said the urgency of the recovery and that they believe that especially Aruba can bounce back within a year. And actually, we need it as tourism is our most important economic industry on the island. And also what gave me a little bit of comfort is the fact that everybody, I think, tends to agree that the tourism industry is becoming more important than ever, especially to harness the awareness, but also the safety feeling of our customers. Did you get that same feeling?
Yeah, I think they emphasize the quality of the experience and the quality of the traveler is, I think, more important than ever, especially with the fast testing and getting the feeling across to the traveler that it's all covered and that it's all safe to take this decision. And their confidence, especially TUI and KLM, confident that it's gonna happen sooner than later. And I hope for them that it will. And I hope for myself that I can travel fast to my island again, yeah.
Yes, I think that's the key word for next year, confidence. And well, as a DMO, Aruba Tourism Authority, we are confident. And as our top theme for this year is happiness will prevail, we'll focus a lot on that. And that I would like to thank you very much, Kurt, for leading this discussion. I know it can be a challenge sometimes, managing leaders of industry, especially this group of very interesting speakers. And in that sense, I also want to thank the panelists, starting with our CEO, Ronella Chingashu, CEO of Aruba Tourism Authority, Dan Peisel of KLM, our main carrier out of Europe, Arjen Kers, representing TUI, our main tour operator and also airline from Europe, and last but not least, Carol Hay, part of the CTO chapter UK Europe, one of the best marketeers for the Caribbean as a brand in Europe. Thank you, everybody. Well, everybody, we've reached the end of this day. I want to thank you again for registering and being with us this whole day in the virtual Aruba Meets Europe. We do hope it was helpful, inspirational, but above all, we hope it gives you the confidence, to go on into 2021 together with us. Because as you know, happiness will prevail. We do believe it, and we're going to celebrate that together next year. So thank you again. Thank you everybody who worked on this virtual conference. Thank you for everybody who logged in. Thank you to our panelists, the people who gave us the messages directly from Aruba. And, as we say in Aruba, when we wrap things up, Nosta Topa. See you soon in Aruba. Thank you, everybody.
Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze